Here in Cincinnati, officially it's 24, but to the skin it feels like 14, and there is snow and freezing rain in the forecast for later today as we welcome you back. The Indianapolis Colts have won the toss, and they have elected to receive. A victory for them clinches the AFC South Championship today, but it's a tall order facing the Bengals, who are a perfect 5-0 at home this season.
Greg, if there's some good news, we've done some games where the wind has been a real factor, and the wind right now is not. I don't think it's really going to affect the passing game. The kicking game, at least right now, the wind's not a big concern.
Chris Rainey is deep for the Colts, and we're underway. And he'll get a chance to run this one out of the end zone. In fact, he takes it at his own 1-yard line. Across the 20, across the 25, and out to about the 28-yard line. Second-year quarterback Andrew Luck runs the Indy offense. 15 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. Keep in mind, Luck has also rushed for more than 300 yards and 4 touchdowns this season. He can get it done with his legs.
I think a lot of people, defenders, take bad angles in trying to intercept Andrew Luck. They look at the size of him and misjudge his overall speed, which is 4.6 variety.
From the 28-yard line, Luck gonna throw on first down. And now he tucks it in and dives across the 30 to about the 31. Injuries up front have Joe Wright starting at left guard and Mike McGlynn starting at right guard. And the deep threat in the Colts aerial attack, second-year wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, the team leader with 5 touchdown receptions.
And right now, the biggest question surrounding the Colts: can their offensive line keep this extremely talented defensive group of the Bengals off of Andrew Luck?
On 2nd and 7, this is Donald Brown. And Brown very close to the 35-yard line. The Bengals 4-3 defense. Carlos Dunlap has 7 sacks and has forced a pair of fumbles. Linebacker Vontaze Burfict averaging more than 13 tackles a game this year. And the Bengals have picked off 13 passes this season. Safety Reggie Nelson has 2 of them. This is a 3rd and 3. And the Colts have to take a timeout.
Timeout. Indy. They're first. Indianapolis. They're first. It's a 30-second timeout.
So with 13:44 to play in the first quarter, the Colts are forced to take a timeout.
Well, at least the Colts have a somewhat manageable 3rd down situation. You talk to the Colts coaches, you watch the tape, you realize that far too often Andrew Luck and this offense has been forced into 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and they have shown a real inability to deal with that kind of pressure. Ever since Reggie Wayne went out of the lineup, they've played 5 games without the future Hall of Famer. Granted, they've won 3 of them, but it has been a real struggle. Andrew Luck's numbers and the passing game have been in a nosedive since Reggie tore up his knee.
3rd and 3. Luck gets some time going down the far sideline. It is incomplete. Intended for Derek Rogers. Covered by Adam Jones on the play.
And again, we talked about, the loss of Reggie Wayne. Well, this is Derek Rogers, and he does get a step on Adam Jones, but just keep in mind that if he would have caught that ball, it would have been his first NFL reception ever. It's only his 2nd game in the National Football League. That's the lack of depth for the Colts at wide receiver.
Brandon Tate is deep for Cincinnati, drifting back inside his own 15-yard line from the 12. And out of bounds just across the 15 at about the 17-yard line. So that's where the Bengals and Andy Dalton will get underway. The Bengals quarterback in his 3rd season out of TCU with 22 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, completing more than 61% of his throws.
And there's going to be a lot of people looking at the new look offensive line of the Bengals. It's going to feature their Pro Bowl left tackle, Andrew Whitworth, now at left guard.
There's been some shuffling.
Yeah, they think they can move the Colts off the ball.
On first down, Dalton rolling and throwing and complete to tight end Jermaine Gresham. And knocked out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. A lot of shuffling up front on that Bengals O-line. Andrew Whitworth to left guard with the addition of Collins at left tackle. And A.J. Green is 72 catches, ranking 5th in the NFL. He's over 1,100 yards with 7 touchdown receptions.
And those numbers for Green, Greg, keep in mind, he hasn't seen single coverage since he was in high school.
Pickup of 8. It'll be 2nd and 2. This is Ben Jarvis, Green, Ellis, and not very much at all Kelvin Shepard leading the charge on defense for Indianapolis.
Well, Ben Jarvis, Green, Ellis is the guy that they really want to do the heavy lifting. But that was just an excellent job by the Colts linebackers, Freeman and Shepard, both of them right up on the line of scrimmage. They read run in a hurry and filled the gaps.
So Marvin Lewis now looking at a 3rd and 2 for his Bengals. Giovanni Bernard in the backfield. Dalton on the slant, and that is complete across the 35-yard line to A.J. Green for the first down.
And A.J. Green lets everyone know that he needs to run more of these patterns. Everybody plays him to want to play the outside of the field, from the numbers to the sidelines. And he said, to buy myself some room out there, I've got to run more slants. I've got to run more inside patterns between the numbers. And you saw right there a good strike from Dalton of Cincinnati first down.
This is Green Ellis to the right side from 2 to the 37.
Now that's a disappointing first down for Cincinnati. Anything less than 4 yards on first down anytime for any team in the league. When they go back to the huddle, they go, wow, we misfired on that one.
2nd and 8. There is no precipitation at the moment. The field was covered with a tarp overnight. Cleared off about an hour before kickoff.
Hey, go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Lead! Wave up!
Dalton to the throw up the seam, and that's complete across midfield to A.J. Green for a first down into Colts territory at the 47.
Well, A.J. Green going to run the deep post, stems it about 12 yards down, and again, against this zone, the safeties are too deep. The perfect route, and Andy Dalton threw a strike right to his talented receiver. And you can see, at least here in the early going, handling the football, throwing the football doesn't seem to be an issue.
Ben Jarvis, Green, Ellis can't find running room, and he's wrestled down at about the line of scrimmage. The Colts are missing defensive end Ricky Jean-Francois. Number 95, Fili Moala starts for him. Robert Mathis, the NFL sack leader, with 15 and a half of them on the year. And quarterback Greg Toller sidelined with a groin injury. Number 20, Darius Butler, replaces him on the outside. Cincinnati has struggled to score in the first quarter. No points on the board in the first quarter of their last 4 games. Quick pass out to the far side. That's complete to Andrew Hawkins, and Hawkins out of bounds inside the 40 at about the Indy 39-yard line. That'll leave him about 3 yards short of a first down.
Well, after getting nothing on first down, a hugely successful second down call. Jay Gruden is getting quite a reputation around the NFL as an offensive coordinator. He is climbing the ranks.
Bernard in the backfield on 3rd and 3. Quick pass again, far side, complete. Inside the 30-yard line to Jermaine Gresham, and that's a first down once again for the Bengals.
Well, a classic back shoulder throw. Gresham this time had talk about physicality, and he's going against Antoine Bethea. But that, again, that's just an outstanding throw from Andy Dalton. You know, you expect Gresham to be physical as a tight end, 6'5", 260, but that type of a pattern takes a pinpoint throw, and that's what he got that time from Andy Dalton.
Dalton 5 out of 5 throwing the football to start things off. And Dalton with time, lots of time, on the move, and throwing it away. Run out of bounds by Ricardo Matthews in pursuit. It'll be 2nd and 10. Going back to Gresham, Dan, we were told that on occasion Gresham tends to fight the football when it's coming to him.
And, he's an excellent blocker. And, it's a 2 tight end offense that the Bengals run. They drafted Tyler Eifert in the first round and added him to that already outstanding unit with Gresham being the leader. So this is a tight end offense, except for the fact that they got A.J. Green outside. I mean, they got it all.
Deep down the near sideline for the end zone, a diving catch for the touchdown, Marvin Jones.
Well, how do you have a better opening series than Andy Dalton just had for the Bengals? Talk about throwing the ball when it's cold outside and putting it exactly where you want it to be. Vontae Davis, his coverage isn't bad. I mean, he's within a half a step. Dalton drops that ball in where only Marvin Jones can make a play on it. That was a special drive by number 14.
29-yard pass for the touchdown. Mike Nugent for the extra point. And it's good. Andy Dalton's 23rd touchdown pass of the season caps a terrific drive for the Bengals. They grab a 7-0 lead. The Bengals put together a 10-play, 83-yard drive, 81 of those yards coming through the air and culminating with Marvin Jones' 8th touchdown catch of the season. 7-0 Cincinnati with 8:03 to play in the first. And there's Chris Rainey waiting to kick.
How was Dalton on that drive?
Fairly consistent, yeah.
Not bad.
Rainey out of the end zone. And across the 20 to about the 23-yard line. And with 7:59 to play in the first quarter, Andrew Luck and the Colt offense back on the field, trailing by 7.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. The new Windows, one experience for everything in your life. And by Ford. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more.
Just under 8 minutes to play here in the first quarter, and the Colts start again, this time from their own 23-yard line. And Donald Brown in the backfield with Andrew Luck. He now moves into the slot. Luck. That pass is complete to Jack Doyle, the tight end, and he's out across the 30. Go back to that touchdown.
Well, here's Marvin Jones down here, and Davis is across. Here's Landry, the safety. Now, Landry is a hard-hitting safety. He doesn't have great range. So Dalton figures there's no way he's going to get over there, and he is right. And Andy drops him an absolutely perfect throw.
Luck throwing, and that's incomplete. And there was contact, and here comes the flag. Pass intended for Wesley Saunders, the third-year tight end out of South Carolina.
And Vontaze Burfict was running with him.
Pass interference, defense, number 55. Automatic first down.
Jeff Triplett, our referee today.
Well, the Bengals have gotten a lot of football in not quite the full 2 years that Vontaze Burfict has been in the NFL. I think he got something like a $500 signing bonus. The NFL Today did a nice job spotlighting him earlier this morning, and I'll tell you what, he's here to stay. Some people are football players, and he's one.
Luck throwing out to the side, and that is incomplete. Now let's see. guess we're going to determine whether that was an incomplete pass or a lateral incomplete pass.
Pass was forward. It's an incomplete pass. Second down.
So it'll be 2nd and 10. No.
There's Mike Zimmer, the Bengals defensive coordinator. This is his 6th year. And I tell you what, this is a good group. As you see, number 6 overall in yardage, but more importantly, number 5, only 18 points a game allowed. That's good stuff.
Lucky!
Andrew Luck yelling out, lucky. Has time, throwing, sideline, and that is on the far side of the field, and it is ruled incomplete.
Hilton didn't get both feet down, according to the official on that sideline. Boy, this is a strong throw from Luck.
Yeah, I asked him if he thought he'd have any problems throwing in this weather, and he said none that he could see, and he wasn't about to wear any gloves either.
Let's take a look. When does he have possession? Yeah, the right foot is in the air when he finally gains possession of the football, and then the right foot comes down way out of bounds. Good work by the officiating crew.
So it's 3rd and 10. Luck, quick pass, Donald Brown. Brown can't find running room and is run out of bounds short of the 45-yard line by Vontaze Burfict. Said at the very beginning, Vontaze Burfict averaging 13 tackles a game this season.
Yeah, and linebacker Vinny Ray was over there as well. And between those two, they've got guys with speed, with range. There's a lot of athleticism on this Cincinnati defense.
So Brandon Tate stands inside his own 10-yard line for the punt. Pat McAfee will try to drop it deep inside the 10, and it rolls and is killed and out of bounds at about the 1-yard line. Good job by McAfee, and good job at the other end of the line, too, by Sergio Brown. Andy Dalton, 1 touchdown pass on the ledger today. Gets another shot after this.
Start at the 1-yard line. Coaches will tell you the quality of a drive in this situation is measured by first downs instead of points. You don't count on being able to score from there, but you would love to get at least a couple first downs to try to shift field position.
We'll start with BenJarvus Green Ellis up the middle and close to the 5-yard line. That'll be a 4-yard gain on first down. It'll be 2nd and 6.
Again, the Bengals feel confident that they can mash the football against this Indianapolis front. And that's a pretty good start. Safety Antoine Bethea has to come up and make the hit. And BenJarvus Green Ellis, I can't imagine how much by both head coaches to their teams have preached ball security all week. You saw him wrap it up.
BenJarvus Green Ellis looking for a running room, and had nowhere to go. Bounced off of what appeared to be his offensive lineman.
Yes, he did. That's not a good sign. He's going to try it right behind right guard, and no place to go. You can see Kyle Cook, the center, number 64, was stood up straight.
So it's 3rd and 3.
And Antoine Bethea and Laron Landry, the Colts have a pair of thumpers at the safety position. Those two guys will come up and lay it on you.
Giovanni Bernard in the backfield. Here's a pass sideline, and that is complete across the 20-yard line and out of bounds. A.J. Green, and it's ruled that he did not get both feet down in bounds.
While Landry, I think, might have knocked him out of bounds before he was able to get that second foot down. And A.J. Green wants to take a look at this to see if he was able to do it.
Ruling on the field is incomplete. Second foot came down out of bounds.
He got half a foot inbounds and half a foot out of bounds.
At first glance, it looked like his heel stepped on the line. Let's take one more look at it, but watch. There's the left foot down. The right foot, the heel, I think, is certainly on the white stripe. That was extremely well adjudicated by the officiating crew.
So the Colt defense has helped their team flip the field pretty well on this last 2 possessions. Rainey. Muffed it. Still hasn't gotten the handle on it. Inside the 35, and who's got it?
It looks like it looked like the Colts had it. Now it's even Chuck Pagano trying to get everybody.
Separating players on the sideline.
I see an official's arm pointing that the Colts have possession.
They do. So Chuck Pagano add to his head coaching duties, peacemaker. Rainey lost some yardage on this play. Colts were fortunate to recover the ball.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Holiday savings on the gifts everyone wants. And by Macy's.
We're in Cincinnati. How about a little Gold Star chili, huh? Trent Richardson into the game for the first time for the Colts. In the backfield, and Richardson with the handoff. And nowhere to go. Wrestled down by Domata Paco.
Well, I know that Trent Richardson has been getting beat up. He's got a less than 3-yard per carry average, but you tell me. I'm not sure where he's supposed to go. I guess maybe he could try to bounce it outside, but as you can see, the battle at the line of scrimmage was won by the Bengals that time. His offensive line was stood straight up.
No gain on the play, 2nd and 10. They give it to Richardson again. Richardson looking to the outside. Nowhere to go there either. First hit by Adam Jones coming up off the corner.
Well, that's how it's supposed to work when you try to bounce it to the outside. You need corner support. The boundary support has to come up, and that's what Pac-Man did that time. As you can see, the Colts have struggled in the first quarter specifically, but they've struggled in the entire first half. 4 of the last 5 games, they've been behind by an average of 20 points at halftime.
Not a recipe for success.
No, it's not.
3rd and 8.
And yet somehow they won 3 of those 5 games.
Luck. Quick pass far side, incomplete. Pass intended for Darius Hayward-Bay, and Adam Jones was in on that play.
Well, again, a strong throw by Luck. Nice tight spiral. He puts it on Bay's hands.
No, a wide receiver's got to make that catch.
Well, you say that, Greg, but ever since he came into the NFL, no one has ever accused Darius Hayward-Bay of having great hands.
Bad kick off the foot of McAfee. And stepping out of bounds is Brandon Tate. That's basically a 36-yard punt. Better field position this time around for Cincinnati. Cincinnati, where the hardy Bengals faithful have bundled up real good today.
Wait! Wake up!
On first down, Dalton under pressure. Threw it away. It'll be 2nd and 10. Hey, got a sports fan on your gift list? Avoid the crowds and get free shipping when you shop this weekend on CBSSports.com. Take advantage of this special offer now at CBSSports.com/holiday. There's Jay Gruden, the offensive coordinator.
He's in his 3rd year, which of course coincides with the arrival of Andy Dalton.
He's as honest as they come, isn't he, Dan?
Yes, he is. He is a coach that believes in tough coaching. He's blunt. If you're not playing well, he is quick to point it out.
This is Giovanni Bernard with a hole on the left side. And out across the 35, close to the 40, our first NFL Today update of the day. JB, Dan Marino.
Joe Flacco needs a snowy surface to show he can run.
Oh, yeah, because of the snow, he's a slippy guy today. Looking at breaks 2 tackles, goes out to the right, goes on a 22-yard run down to the 4-yard line, then throws a 1-yard touchdown to Ed Dixon, which puts Baltimore up 7-0 over Minnesota.
I guess they thought he was a linebacker as opposed to sliding, huh? Greg Gumbel, Dan Dierdorf.
You kind of think Steve Bisciotti didn't pay Joe Flacco all that money to run the football. Dalton with time, throwing out in the flat, and that is off the hands of Giovanni Bernard. And we have a penalty marker down.
Going back to Joe Flacco, wouldn't you want to slide in the snow? It'd be fun.
Holding, number 71 of the offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
It's Andre Smith guilty of the hold. Yeah, that goes back to childhood when you did it without being paid for it.
No kidding. He could have hit the turf and gone for about 10 or 12 yards. That would have been a highlight material. Well, big Andre Smith gets called for the hold, and the Bengals had a couple good plays going for him, and now all of a sudden got to get 20 yards to get a first down.
All right, we got to go.
Do it in pieces. Don't have to do it all at once.
15 offensive plays. The Bengals have thrown it 9 times. This is Bernard. And Bernard bouncing off one tackler, but then coming back to make the stop is number 92, Bjorn Werner. First round draft pick out of Florida State.
Well, it's one of the things that rookies have to learn in the NFL is that, all right, there's one bounce. There's the second bounce. The second bounce in the NFL is almost universally met with being tackled. There's what might have worked in college doesn't work in the NFL. The pursuit does arrive.
Go, go.
I mean, sometimes they play defense in the NFL.
If you watch college football this weekend, you see not so much at the collegiate level.
2nd and 20. That pass to the far side of the field, and slipping on the turf was Marvin Jones. It'll be 3rd and 20.
And again, Marvin Jones there at the top of your screen. And he just throws his left foot just a little bit too far out in front. Let's check out Robert Mathis trying to make his move. But look at that, Anthony Collins. Now, I know Robert Mathis trying to draw the hold, but he tried that inside spin, and Collins ate it up. Excellent work by the offensive tackle of the Bengals.
3rd and long range for Dalton and the Bengals. This is just a 3-man rush. The screen for Bernard. Bernard to the 35 and no more. Coming up to make the stop on him is number 57, Josh McNary, the rookie from Army.
Only a 3-man rush, and one of them was even delayed, but Robert Mathis, look at him get out, breaks off his rush, doesn't actually make the tackle, but puts forth a pretty good effort. The Colts were more than willing to let everything happen in front of them and make the tackle for a punt.
Chris Rainey back at his own 10 for the punt. And this one will bounce into the end zone for the touchback. And that means the Colts will start from their own 20-yard line. 1:21 to play here in the first. Gives us an opportunity to remind you tomorrow on CBS. Melissa McCarthy and Billy Gardell star in a new episode of the hit comedy Mike and Molly. Tomorrow at 9/8 Central. Only CBS.
I think Huber was walking off the field going, where did that come from? That rocket shot of a punt. He's the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week for the way he kicked last week at Tennessee.
Not very much consistency on offense as yet for the Colts, who have managed just 18 total yards in 10 plays. This is Donald Brown, and Brown out to about the 22-yard line. You know, talking about that competition between Donald Brown and Trent Richardson, everybody assumed that Trent Richardson was going to be the main guy on offense in the backfield, but Donald Brown has simply played better.
Well, and you know, I think Trent Richardson has been, you know, very courteous about it, going Donald Brown has earned this opportunity. There's no question when you look at the numbers for the two guys. Brown's just being more productive. It is hard to parachute in the middle of the season and to pick everything up. I don't want to be an apologist for Richardson, but it is not easy showing up in the middle of September.
Andrew Luck with time, throwing to the sideline, and it's complete. Kobe Fleener on the receiving end, and that'll be enough for a first down.
Well, obviously, Fleener and Andrew Luck have great timing together. But again, look at the pass from Luck right onto the hands. And you see, that's what a guy with really good hands looks like when he catches the pass. Kobe Fleener had a really interesting conversation with us, saying he had a tough time adjusting to the fact that there's no stripe on the NFL ball. He thought it was a lot harder to see all the way in.
Better get used to it.
He looked used to it there.
Donald Brown. Just short yardage, and that brings us to the end of the first quarter. We've played one here in Cincinnati. Andy Dalton's touchdown pass. The only points on the board, 7-0 Cincy. We're back after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS. They're the two running backs we were talking about. Trent Richardson on the left, Donald Brown on the field on your right. And Donald Brown came into this game with 4 touchdowns running the football and 1 on the receiving end. Trent Richardson with 2 running the football, but none since the 4th week of this season. On 2nd and 10, that pass sliding to make the catch is Derek Rogers. And Rogers with his first reception of the season. Of his career.
There's a little comparison of the two. Now that's since Richardson joined the Colts for the 3rd game of the season. But when it comes to productivity, it's pretty much of a no-brainer why the coaches at this point of time in December have turned to Donald Brown. He's been by far and away more productive.
It's a little early to give up on a talented guy like Trent Richardson.
Oh, and they're not even in the same zip code of giving up on Richardson.
Luck under pressure, throwing it, and it could have been picked off. It's incomplete. Wallace Gilberry in on Andrew Luck, and that's all too familiar to Mr. Luck this season.
Andrew Luck has had to pick himself up after a passing play. Now, keep in mind that Gilberry got there because Andrew Luck wanted to go right away with the throw and brought it back down.
McAfee kicking away to Tate. Fair catch ball forward. He's going to let it bounce. And did they get there in time?
Yes, they did.
That's Sergio Brown once again with the special teams play. And this ball is going to be spotted at the 4-yard line.
What an effort by Sergio Brown. He left from the field of play, was in midair when he swatted the ball back into the field of play. Textbook gunner play on special teams. That's how you do it.
You know, Chuck Pagano told us last night they're going to have to create some short fields with special teams play, but at the other end of the field, they've done a good job so far today.
Well, the Bengals are used to huddling in their own end zone.
Yeah. Second time they're starting inside their own 5-yard line. Dalton, quick pass over the middle, and that's complete across the 10-yard line to Tyler Eifert, the rookie out of Notre Dame. Another NFL Today update, JB and Dan.
Snow, no problem for Kansas City and Washington.
Off an RG3 interception, Alex Smith slant route to Dwayne Bowe, breaks a tackle, goes in for a 21-yard touchdown. Kansas City up 17-0.
Hoping to clinch a playoff spot, that is Kansas City with the win, and a Miami loss. Greg and Dan.
Kansas City looking like they're back in stride. 2nd and 1. This is Bernard, has the first down and then some. 25, 30, out to the 32-yard line.
Well, there's buying yourself a little field position. Boy, great opening over there on the left-hand side. Take a look at it. Tremendous block by Whitworth at left guard, Collins at left tackle, and then Cook with a seal back to the inside, and Bernard knows what to do with it when you let him loose like that at the 2nd and then the 3rd level of a defense.
Yeah, we were talking to Andrew Whitworth. He says it's been fun for him to move from left tackle to left guard.
I wouldn't be surprised if he stays there for the rest of his career.
The pitch for Bernard. Still on his feet and gets a first down across the 40 to about the 42-yard line.
Again, let's take a look at this coming right at us. There's Andrew Whitworth, 77, pulling, getting out in front. And then it's just a case of a little over pursuit by the Colts defense that gives that big soft void back to the inside. And Bernard's smart enough to see it and cut right back into it. Hey, if it's any consolation to Andrew Whitworth, talking to Anthony Munoz before the game, he thinks it's a good move too. And if Anthony gives his stamp of approval at Cincinnati, it's good to go.
Dalton throwing sideline, and that's complete. A.J. Green with the good hands this time across midfield and very close to a first down.
Well, Andy Dalton has been throwing the football with some real accuracy here so far in this game. Just a little stop route by Green. And again, just look at the soft hands, brings it in. Darius Butler, not a chance. Tough to defend that little stop pattern unless you're just sitting on it.
Orlando's up.
Second and short yardage, Ben Jarvis, Green, Ellis. Tripped up at the line of scrimmage, but forward for the first down. Darius Butler making the stop. Dan, I want to go back to Andrew Whitworth because you're not just talking about any guy up front. You're talking about an all-pro level left tackle moving inside.
Yes, and you're right. You're not talking about any guy. You're talking about the offensive leader of this football team. He is their bell cow. Andrew Whitworth is a spokesman for this team through his work ethic, his play. And, this is just what you want out of a great player. Showing a willingness to move. If it's better for the team, then I'll be glad to do it.
Hurry up, Lee!
Dalton going to go deep. This is diving incomplete. Tyler Eifert dove at the 20-yard line and couldn't hold on.
Just to finish up on the Whitworth thing, he had a lot of experience playing guard when he was younger, but still, left tackle is the premier position in the game of football. It's the big money position. And, a lot of guys, the mere mention of being moved off the left tackle spot is something they don't want to even talk about.
He likes it.
Well, I think he realizes it's a smart move for him at this stage of his career. He's a mauler by nature, and when you're at the guard position, you're at Mall Central.
That pass knocked down and all close to being picked off by Werner.
And that would have made this a 7-7 game if somehow the number one pick is able to hold up. Look up there in the top left. Collins does a good job. He just trying to steer him to the outside, and you can't defend that. Good eye-hand coordination by the rookie, and he slaps it away.
So now 3rd and 10. See what Dalton has done throwing the ball on 3rd down today.
What are you doing?
Bernard, a good pass receiver in the backfield. Dalton with time, and now going to run it. And we'll get to about the 41-yard line of the Colts before Ricardo Matthews brings him down. And that'll bring the punter, Kevin Huber, up.
Yeah, I know it's 4th down on the other side of the field, and Marvin Lewis at times has shown an adventurous spirit, but I think given the fact how cold it is, he's protecting a 7-0 lead. A lot of confidence in his defense. Let's make Indianapolis go a long way for a score.
Chris Rainey standing inside his own 10-yard line. And Huber trying to drop it down. Fair catch is made at about the 12. So that's where Andrew Luck and the Colt offense will get started when we come back to Cincinnati. Look at how the quarterbacks have fared thus far, and Andrew Luck. Boy, it's no secret this Indy offense has had problems getting started in the first half of games. They have scored no touchdowns in the first half of their last 5 games, yet they've come out of that with a 3-2 record. This is Trent Richardson. Richardson outside and dragging a tackler out of bounds at about the 20-yard line.
Yeah, George Iloka, the safety, was able to come up and make a good open field tackle on Richardson. Iloka, their strong safety, and this is the kind of tackling that you expect from your strong safety. I mean, that's wrapping up, that's hanging on, bringing him down. Of course, Iloka's a big guy, 6'4", 217.
Second and 2. This is Richardson again, and Richardson looks to have the first down at about the 22-yard line. Hey, with the playoff races heating up, download NFL Mobile to get live video access to exclusive premium content on your smartphone. Call ** NFL to download or go to NFL.com/mobile to learn more. Message and data rates may apply.
And now it's Donald Brown's turn to watch Trent Richardson get his snaps. And so far on the day, Richardson has 4 carries to Brown's 3.
Only the third first down of the day for the Colts offense.
160! What's that?
Running for his life and just getting it away before James Harrison unloaded on him in the backfield is Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck barely gets a chance to set his feet, and for some reason, 2 running backs in the game for the Colts, and they both disregard James Harrison and give him a free run at their quarterback.
Boy, Trent Richardson just watched him go
Yep.
right by.
Yep.
2nd and 10.
That is not the guy you want to turn loose with a direct shot at your QB.
Ricky!
Luck. That's complete to a tight end Saunders on the outside and looking for a first down. He's very close to the marker at about the 32.
Well, the Colts coaches were pointing in there. I think they wanted a horse collar tackle. Take a look at this coming right at you, right? Burfict got in there, and you could see he's got his hand in the middle of the jersey, and that's why there was no flag. You could see the runner kind of snap back, but that was good work by Vontaze Burfict. Had his hand in the middle of the jersey, not up top.
Not enough to prevent the first down though. First down out to the 33-yard line. And flags fly as there was movement on the inside.
Well, we got some movement on the Cincinnati side. They might have been in the neutral zone. Let's see who this is on.
Neutral zone infraction, number 98 of the defense. 5-yard penalty, it's still first down.
Brandon Thompson reacting to the call from Andrew Luck.
Which is one of the best in the NFL. Yeah, you can see he got Brandon Thompson into the neutral zone. He did it with a little bit of a head bob. The officials have been cracking down on the quarterback, giving that kind of movement to intentionally get those defensive linemen to rock forward into the neutral zone. But Andrew Luck's voice, you can hear him in the upper decks.
Now it's 1st and 5. Luck, that's complete. And Darius Hayward-Bay is out of bounds at midfield. Another first down for the Colts.
Well, Darius Hayward-Bay there just coming underneath. 2 guys running clearing patterns in front of him, and he comes all the way across, and that is such a hard route to defend. It seldom ends up being a huge play because the receiver's running parallel when he catches the pass, but boy, it results in a lot of first downs.
And there's no question Hayward-Bay can run. This is Luck with time, but he goes short instead. This is Richardson. Richardson running roll up the sideline and close to the 30-yard line inside the 30 of the Bengals. Carlos Dunlap coming all the way back to make that stop.
Well, people think of Trent Richardson as, as a power guy, running through people, but this is a good shot of him making somebody miss. And right there, there's no ability to wrap up by James Harrison.
How about Carlos Dunlap all the way back downfield?
Ray!
Luck with time again up the middle and is incomplete at the goal line. T.Y. Hilton. There was another Colt receiver in the area too.
Kobe Fleener was down there as well. Let's see if a Cincinnati defender gets his hand on this. Yep, absolutely, right there. Reggie Nelson got a fingertip on it. Yep, Reggie Nelson coming across from his safety spot gets a fingernail on the football, just enough to deflect it away. Good play.
2nd and 10.
he got hit as he threw that.
Just as he let go, it falls incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 10.
Man, that's how a quarterback gets hurt. Damaging a thumb or an elbow or something like that. Just again, he got hit. Looked like Devin Still, number 75, hits him right on the forearm as he's attempting to follow through and throw it.
Luck was fortunate that didn't get picked. 3rd and 10.
Still their 2nd round pick last year. Nice pressure.
Go. On one apple.
Under pressure again. That pass is complete. That's not going to be nearly enough for a first down to Kobe Fleener.
Yeah, that time it's a backside blitz off the edge. And Andrew Luck has an unblocked Bengal coming right at him. Chris Crocker, number 32, coming in from the back. I think Luck sensed it and realized he had to get rid of it. Mike Zimmer, the defensive coordinator, good call there.
So here's Adam Vinatieri. Amazing, isn't he, Dan?
The ageless one. He's going to be 41 later this month.
From 44 yards out. And didn't make it.
Started inside the upright, and then you could see it just drift a little bit to the right.
Usually very, very reliable. Not this time.
NFL on CBS is sponsored by The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, in theaters everywhere December 13th. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the game's most refreshing beer. And by the redesigned Honda Odyssey. Honda, start something special.
Colts fail to get on the scoreboard. It's 7-0 Cincinnati. The Bengals start from their own 34-yard line.
A rare miss by Vinatieri. Only his 4th miss of the entire year.
Hand us up.
Dalton from the shotgun. And over the middle, wide open, is Bernard out of the backfield into Indianapolis territory to the 44.
Well, a nice play by Bernard. That ball thrown a little bit behind him. It actually spins him all the way around. Watch this nifty little move by Bernard as he pivots back to get that football. I can only imagine how excited Andy Dalton had to be when he realized what a gift he got from the scouting department when in the 2nd round they bring home Giovanni Bernard.
Power. Lady. Look up.
Another pass, and that's complete. Inside the 35-yard line, and Andy Dalton throwing the ball pretty well today, Dan.
Yes, and he started out throwing the ball. Started out going inside to A.J. Green, but he's been spreading it out. He let Jermaine Gresham get in, and then this beautiful go pattern to Marvin Jones where he just drops in a perfect pass. Cold, schmold, it doesn't make any difference. This is a nice day to throw the seed, and he's having some fun with it.
All the way now to the 33-yard line of the Colts. Squeezing through and finding running room has been Jarvis Green Ellis, and that's his specialty.
Boy, initially that play was such a delayed handoff. It looked dead on arrival, and yet a bunch of missed tackles, and away goes Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. There's Andrew Whitworth, moves into that 2nd level and just obliterates Pat Angerer, the linebacker.
How about this, Dan? Cincinnati averaging 8.1 yards per play on offense today. Dalton looking for more down the far side, and turning the wrong way was A.J. Green, covered closely by Vontae Davis, and we have a penalty marker.
But Gresham and Green were in the same vicinity. That's bringing a lot of defenders into the same neck of the woods.
Jeff Triplett.
Prior to the pass, holding number 23 of the defense. It's a 5-yard penalty, results in a first down.
So that's Vontae
Automatic
Davis.
first down.
Here's Davis locked up on A.J. Green. Oh, you could see, yeah, he's got a hand on the jersey. He kept his hand and tugging on A.J. Green's jersey for about 20 yards downfield. That's just so easy to call.
Was that wrong?
Well, it was wrong for 15 of the 20. The first 5 was okay.
3 minutes to play here in the first half. And the Bengals now at the 23 of the Colts. 7-0 lead, looking for more. Bernard, right side, inside the 20. Out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. It'll be first and goal.
Oh, man. Great job by Paul Alexander's offensive line here in Cincinnati. Greg Minuski, the defensive coordinator, trying to come up with an answer for this. But look at this. You get the block set on the edge, then you get Andre Smith out in front. Kyle Cook, the center's out there as well. I'm telling you, this is like the old student body right. A lot of big bodies out in front of Giovanni Bernard.
This is what they do at home in the winter months in the AFC North. First and goal. Dalton lofting it in the end zone. It is caught over there, but incomplete and out of bounds is Mohamed Sanu.
I think he got 1 foot in, but I don't believe the other was even close.
It'll be second and goal.
The fade into the corner. I stand corrected. I don't think he got either footed. That's just physically impossible to haul in that football and stay in the field of play.
The pitfalls of being a long strider.
Yeah. Well, and that ball was just thrown too far to the outside.
This has been Jarvis Green Ellis inside the 5 to about the 3, where it'll be third and goal, and that looks like that'll be the last play we get in before we reach the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play here in the first half. The Cincinnati Bengals looking for a 2-touchdown lead. They lead 7-0 now. A reminder, the Verizon Halftime Report coming your way. JB and the guys in the studio in New York with scores and highlights. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Third and goal. The Colts say that Corey Redding is on the sideline with a quad injury and his return is questionable.
Bad news there. He's one of their best run defenders.
Pass. That pass is caught near the goal line, but he is not into the end zone. In fact, forward progress is going to be marked short for Marvin Jones. And now let's see what happens with Marvin Lewis.
I don't see anybody coming out here from the field goal team. They got 1 yard to go, and Marvin's going to go for it.
Marvin Lewis coming down the sideline. He has all 3 of his timeouts remaining. And it looks like he's going to take some time off the clock.
Well,
right
yeah,
here.
that's true. He's going to let it run down because he doesn't want to give the Colts any time or as little time as possible on the back end. He'll take a timeout and chew it over and see what he wants to do.
So he calls a timeout, uses his first here in the first half. We'll be back. Cincinnati all in on this 4th and goal from the 1. That's Domata Peko, the 6'3", 322-pound defensive tackle in the backfield along with 3 tight ends. Then Jarvis Green Ellis behind Peko. Going to follow it. Tripp looking for the goal line. Did he get there?
I don't think so.
He is going to be marked short of the goal line.
He got tripped up and bounced into the end zone. Did Chapman, it looked like somebody gets penetration right there. I believe it's number 96, Josh Chapman, who just takes the ankle right there, just gets a finger on the foot of Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, and that puts him down by contact. Right there, he swipes that
foot. The ruling on
foot.
the field is the runner was touched. So he's short of the line, short of the touchdown. It'll be first down.
And even on the bounce and the slide, the ball came down short of the goal line.
That's sure what it looked like. Keep in mind, there's no coach's challenge here. It's inside 2 minutes, so this is up to the booth upstairs. But I don't think there's any question that he is down by contact, and there's the elbow and the knees on the turf, and the ball was short of the, sure looks to me like it's short of the goal line.
We're reviewing the previous
They'll
play.
take a look.
Yeah.
We'll take a break.
It's not even close.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Kay Jewelers, the #1 jewelry store in America. Every kiss begins with K. And by the new Intel-powered 2-in-1s. Intel. Look inside.
Well, that goal line play is still under review, but from what we've seen, Dan, that call on the field is going to stand.
Now take a look at this. It's actually the left knee of Green Ellis is going to touch down right there. And that ball is down right there, and it is still several feet from the goal line. And I don't think there's any question that it was down from contact.
And in fact, that may be cause to respot that football, because that ball is just inches short of the goal line.
Yeah,
where
they might move it out a couple feet. It would benefit the Colts a little bit.
So it should stay a 7-0 Cincinnati lead, but again, an offensive fizzle
If it's
by
not
the Colts in the first
if
half.
it's not for one hand on the shoe, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis walks into the end zone, because there was a huge hole if he followed Pecco.
Good play by Josh Chapman, who got a hand on Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, tripped him up.
He's still alive with the hand, but there the knee touches.
And look at Pecco clearing the way in front of him.
Oh yeah, that is a walk-in. But Josh Chapman, number 96. Wow, what a big play as he gets
Dan,
upfield penetration.
Dan, look at Pecco coming out on Darius Butler. That's just unfair, isn't it?
Only for Darius Butler. Again, the design of the play was really good, but Chapman beats the block and gets upfield.
Well,
I don't know what's taking so long.
I don't know what's taking so long either, unless we're waiting for another weather front to move in. But right now, here comes Jeff Triplett with 1:06 to play in the first half.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The runner is not touched and is slides into the end zone. It is a touchdown.
Are you
Whoa.
kidding me? Are you kidding me? Not touched?
Jeff Triplett doesn't think that Chapman hit his foot.
What did he think he tripped on back there at the 5-yard line?
Wow. It's our opinion that Josh Chapman, it sure looked to me like Josh Chapman got his hand on the foot of Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, but Jeff Triplett has the only vote.
And the extra point is good. Wow.
Chuck Pagano
is speechless, and frankly, so are we.
Here's another look. Here goes Chapman upfield right there. Well, we can't. Again, it's screened by people. Right here, there with the left hand, it looks right there that his left hand hits the left foot of Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. That's what causes him to stumble and to go down. Well, Jeff Triplett didn't see, or doesn't think, obviously, that Chapman touched the foot of Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Right there, we thought he did.
Well, I can't see any other reason why 42 loses his balance.
Well, again, it's not a committee. Jeff Triplett has the only vote. His opinion is the only one that matters. And I think Chuck Pagano thought that his defense made the play and made the stand, and we did as well.
Oh, I think Chuck isn't the only one left. Meanwhile, the last 6 games, Indy has been outscored 114 to 24 in the first half. Rainey from the 7. Out across the 25 to about the 27-yard line. Reminder once again, the Verizon halftime report coming your way with JB, Dan Shannon Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher, with all the scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
Well, Greg, regardless of what you think about that last play, the reality for the Indianapolis Colts is, again, they're trailing at halftime of a football game. Even if they should score here, they're still trailing. And this has become a really bad habit of late for Chuck Pagano's ball club.
Load.
59 seconds on the clock now. Andrew Luck standing in, throwing, and that's complete. And out of bounds is Derek Rogers, and that'll stop the clock with 53 seconds to play. So
A lot of room to operate.
down.
Yeah, a lot of room underneath there given by the Cincinnati defense. Andrew Luck will be glad to take it in chunks like that.
So now from the 41-yard line.
Colts have a chance to win their division if they win today.
Going deep, and it is incomplete. Triple covered on the near sideline is Rogers. 47 seconds to play.
And again, Derek Rogers just playing in the second game of his NFL career. And this is just not a great deal of experience in this Colts receiving corps.
57.
When they lost Reggie Wayne, they lost a bunch.
And that pass is complete. Breaking a tackle at the 45-yard line is Levon Brazil, second-year receiver out of Ohio University.
And Indianapolis will have to take a timeout here.
They used their second of this first half. And we'll take a quick break. 37 seconds on the clock. Thought he had put the clamps on Ben Jarvis Green Ellis at the goal line, and frankly, we did too.
That guy's so big, he played for Alabama and Auburn at the same time.
3rd and 5 for Andrew Luck. So now we have now Triplett says, okay, we can go. 3rd and 5.
Zimmer showing pressure up front. Well, now they bail out a little bit.
55.
Vontez Burfict right up there in the A-gap.
Andrew Luck changing it up several times. Deep drop, steps up, and throws incomplete.
Well, they sold the blitz. They had 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, and then they all bail out and come with a conventional 4-man rush, and the Colts had no answer for it. That was a good look there by the Cincinnati defense of showing the all-out blitz. They force Andrew Luck to change the play at the line of scrimmage, and then they all bail back into coverage.
McAfee gets it away. Brandon Tate. Out of bounds short of the 20-yard line. With 20 seconds to play here in the first half.
Well, the Colts have found themselves behind with some regularity against St. Louis. Tavon Austin, the Rams, they scored 28 points on the Colts. It was 28-0 at halftime. And then Larry Fitzgerald and the Cardinals, they were up 27-3 at halftime. And now today it appears that we're going to halftime, at the very least, trailing 14-0. Now, you know, his team has won 3 of the last 5 games, but that's a habit you can't hope to repeat very often if you're going to have success. And again, the Colts very much wanting this game. It would give them the division title if they could beat Cincinnati here.
Short-circuiting on offense, and they are scoreless again here in the first half as time runs down. Boy, you've got to get Andrew Luck a little time to throw the football. He has not gotten that. A missed field goal and 5 punts for the Colt offense. 14-0 Bengals. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station in Cincinnati. As we get set for the start of the second half, it is the Bengals leading the Colts by a score of 14-0. Football like you've never heard it, presented to you by Sonos. Welcome back, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf. We'll be talking about that play a little bit tonight and tomorrow. And the thing that, Dan, you and I very much agree with is that no matter whether you believe he was tripped up or not, there is nothing conclusive about that play, yet Jeff Triplett overturned the call on the field.
Greg, like with every replay situation, you start with the call on the field. And the officials ruled BenJarvus Green-Ellis down at the 1 foot line because they thought that he was contacted by the Indianapolis defense. Right there, Chapman. That's what tripped up BenJarvus Green-Ellis, and he landed short of the goal line. So the ruling on the field was that he was down by contact, which means you're right. Jeff Triplett has to see conclusive, 100% conclusive evidence that he was not touched. Well, we are all in agreement that that replay is inconclusive. You can't. I couldn't tell for sure. I'm just amazed that he overturned it.
Now, and as I mentioned to you just a moment ago, the double whammy for the Indianapolis Colts is instead of being on the board, at least trailing 14-7, now they're down by 2 touchdowns, and they have to kick it off to the Bengals here to start the second half. There's Josh Chapman. And let's see what happens here. Brandon Tate will not run it out of the end zone. So it'll start at the 20-yard line as we take a look at some first half numbers. The Bengals with the advantage in rushing yards, passing yards, total yardage, and plays of 10 or more yards on offense.
Well, and again, the Cincinnati Bengals here at home are undefeated this season. They're 5-0, and I think when you look at how the Colts have played well in the second half and have come back and won some of these games where they've been trailing, it has not been against a quality opponent like the Bengals.
Out to the 25-yard line has BenJarvus Green-Ellis. Once again, a victory here means the Indianapolis Colts claim the AFC South. They can lose this game, still win the division if Tennessee loses.
You know, it'll be interesting after the game when the press gets to BenJarvus Green-Ellis and says, "Were you tripped? What did you trip, or were you tripped, or did you just fall down?"
Lee! Lift up!
On 2nd and 5, Dalton going to go deep, and it's incomplete. Double covered down the field.
Oh, now that's not Andy's best decision right there.
Intended for Mohamed Sanu, and LaRon Landry and Vontae Davis were right there with it.
Andy's had a good day throwing the football, and that decision there wasn't his best. That was just no chance of a completion there into double coverage.
Andrew Luck awaiting his first chance here in the second half. Giovanni Bernard in the backfield along with Dalton on 3rd and 5.
Landers up!
And Dalton wide open. A.J. Green running room out of bounds across the 45 to the 46-yard line and a first down.
Well, that's a team first down because the Colts bring an extra rusher, and it is picked up and handled beautifully by the Cincinnati offensive line, and that allows Dalton to get A.J. Green coming across on a crossing pattern. But that's credit the guys up front. They gave Andy Dalton a beautiful pocket. And A.J. Green is more than one guy can handle.
Whoa, this is Bernard, and he doesn't go very far, does he? Courtesy of Corey Redding, who is back on the field after a quad injury in the first half.
Listen to this. Bernard just, nowhere to go at all. Corey Redding gets inside Mike Pollock, destroys the block attempt, and then destroys Bernard. Whoa.
Loss of 2, 2nd and 12.
Come on, Cook. Orlando's up.
Dalton, little pass to Gresham. Gresham, running room to the 40.
I'll tell you what, Jay Gruden, the offensive coordinator, has so many weapons here at his disposal. A good-looking tight end screen. You can see Gresham sells the block. He gets Eric Walden to go upfield, and then he becomes the runner. Does a good job following his blockers. That's Jay Gruden, and I'm telling you, he is one sharp cookie. And fun to talk to.
Dan, shouldn't the defender be a little suspicious when he gets around his guy so easily? On the slant, that's complete.
They're looking at the quarterback, Greg. They see the quarterback. Quarterback's holding the ball. It's too tempting.
Mohamed Sanu, wide open on this quick slant.
And again, big slot receiver Sanu at 6'2". The Colts defense just sitting back in a shell, a lot of room underneath. And right now, the Colts defense has got to muscle up. I mean, they are on the verge of giving their offense a huge hole to try to overcome.
First down now just inside the Indy 25. Dalton going to go for it all. Far side of the field. Incomplete. Vontae Davis covering Green.
And that ball from Andy just came up short. Nothing. That ball needed to be about another 4 yards down the boundary line to get down to where A.J. Green could make a play for it and try to use that 6'4" he's got. That ball severely underthrown.
Nice.
2nd and 10. And we get all kinds of movement on the offensive line. Finger pointing.
Looks like Pollock and Andre Smith both were moving for the Bengals.
False start, number 71 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
That's Andre Smith. These two teams, these two cities so close, Indy came in by bus.
Yeah, they're only, basically 100 miles apart. Right down I-74. I think it's the closest geographic rivalry in the AFC.
2nd and 15 now. Pitch for Bernard. Tucks it back in and look at the running room. Inside the 15, inside the 10. It'll be 1st and goal at the 9.
Well, again, Jay Gruden is throwing a great mix of plays at this Indianapolis defense. Again, the good seal block by Gresham down to the inside, and then you get Collins and Whitworth out in front. You're getting a good down block by your tight end. And I remember talking to Marvin Lewis earlier in the season. He said, if you're going to play tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals, you got to be a man, because in our offense, you have got to be a blocker. And right now, the tight ends for Cincinnati are doing a good job of getting a block on the edge.
Going for the end zone, that's incomplete, but looked like the Colts jumped. Might be Robert Mathis on the far side.
Offside defense, defensive end. Half the distance to the goal, still 1st down.
Like number 98, Robert Mathis, who has had a great season, but has been pretty quiet here so far today.
There he is standing right there, number 98, and you're right, he's trying to guess, and he does guess poorly. All the way across the line, you're right, 15 and a half sacks. And keep in mind, he doesn't have Dwight Freeney on the other side anymore. He's getting the double coverage, and he's still getting it done.
Dalton, end zone, incomplete. Penalty marker.
Boy, Darius Butler is pleading his case to the back judge.
Sanu, the intended receiver.
Pass interference, defense number 20. The foul occurred in the end zone. It'll be 1st and goal on the 1.
Dalton tries to float one in there. From that angle, it doesn't look so bad by Butler. But No question he's trying to pull down the left arm of Sanu, but in the end zone, that call goes uncalled more often than it gets called.
Domata Peko. And straight ahead for the touchdown is Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Well, he chooses not to follow Peko. Peko goes off to the left, and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis veers off to the right. He sees a void, and he takes advantage of it. And that was a championship drive there by the Bengals. That's making a statement to start the second half. That we're at home, we've got the lead, and we're going to play big boy football.
Nugent for the extra point. And it is good. And it's time for alarm bells on the Indy sideline. 21-0 Bengals. A very convincing 80-yard drive in 9 plays, taking up 4:19, and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis with the touchdown run. And now the pressure increases on Andrew Luck.
Oh, a little boots kick.
Short kick coming down inside the 30-yard line, and the pileup is at about the 26. And it looks like Ricardo Matthews pulled it in for Indy. Oh no, Adongo. Daniel Adongo. We'll tell you about him when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Bank of America. And by Kelley Blue Book. Everything you need to make a smart new car decision is at kbb.com.
There is Daniel Adongo, a rookie who hails from Pretoria, South Africa, world-class rugby player. And Chuck Pagano says his skills, his physical skills, are off the charts, and he'll be someone to watch. Luck under pressure. On the screen, Donald Brown fell down coming out of the backfield.
Well, Greg, that's your call. Not a lot to add to this. Andrew Luck turns on the screen, and the trap door opened up. A hand came out and just tripped Donald Brown. That's what we always used to say. He just tries to turn around, gets tangled up, and down he goes.
This is Brown on 2nd and 10.
Well,
Across the 30 out to about the 32.
Interesting that they run the ball there, and I think Pep Hamilton and Chuck Pagano, Pep Hamilton, the offensive coordinator, they got to keep one thing in mind. The important thing for this game now, Andrew Luck has to leave here healthy. You can't drop back to throw every time and expose him to this Cincinnati pass rush all game.
That's a quick pass completion. Derek Rogers with running room. Right up the middle. Can he outrun the coverage? Derek Rogers for the touchdown.
Well, here's a guy that never had an NFL reception until today, playing in his second game. Pretty much gets disregarded and then breaks the tackle, and away he goes. Take a look at that. 2 Bengals, Reggie Nelson, Pac-Man Jones, both have a shot at Rodgers, and both miss the tackle. And both of those guys are going to get an earful from Marvin Lewis and Mike Zimmer when they hit the sideline.
Rodgers with 3 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown now. Vinatieri with the extra point. And the Colts come right back with a touchdown. 21-7. Bengals in the lead. Derek Rogers is still pumped on the sideline after his 69-yard catch and run for the touchdown. And the Colts are on the board. It's 21-7. Landon Tate will run this one out of the end zone. And back to the 15-yard line and no further. As Andy Dalton takes the field again, we'll remind you tonight on 60 Minutes, a Navy SEAL story of bravery and survival, plus the people who knew Nelson Mandela best. Only on 60 Minutes tonight, only CBS. So Dan, now we see a little bit what these Indianapolis Colts are made of.
Well, we've documented how much second half success that they've been having. We've also talked about that success hasn't come against, at least late in the season, hasn't come against a quality opponent quite the equal of the Bengals.
Dalton on the move, throws complete, and look at that play. Made back behind the 15-yard line on Tyler Eifert by Kelvin Shepherd.
And you can just see the energy level of the Colts, that it's been elevated.
You know, you hear coaches all the time talk about, you look for a little spark from somewhere on your team.
Well, you know, the defense gets down a little bit. You know, the offense is getting shut out. They just had a long drive against us, and you're going, well, this looks hopeless. We're never going to score. And then bang, they score in a hurry, and all of a sudden, you are right back in there.
Quick pass outside, that's complete. And out of bounds just across the 20-yard line is Jermaine Gresham.
Again, this offense of the Bengals with so many big guys that can run and can get open. I mean, Marvin Jones is 6'2". A.J. Green is 6'4". Mohamed Sanu is 6'2". And then you get those two tight ends, Eifert and Gresham, that are 6'6" and 6'5", respectively.
Nice targets.
Really?
83? Monday.
3rd and 4.
Yeah. Lady! That's the game, boys.
Dalton to throw for it. Penalty marker is down as Dalton runs for it and slides down for a first down, but let's check the flag.
Oh, this will almost certainly be holding on somebody for Cincinnati.
Illegal use of hands. Hands to the face. Number 64 of the offense. That's a 10-yard penalty. It'll still be 3rd down.
That's the center, Kyle Cook.
Cook's number 64 right there on the right side. He's got his left hand up into the throat. I think that might have been Franklin, the nose guard, coming in there, and that's, you know, again, it's just it's a player safety issue. The head and the neck area are to be avoided.
So the Colt defense with a chance to stop the Bengals here. 3rd and 14. Bernard breaks one tackle, can't break any more. Forward progress will be marked at about the 18-yard line, and that'll bring on the punting unit.
Oh, but Fili Moala held him up long enough for the rest of his defensive guys to get in there and make the play. Well, we'll see. The energy level certainly up here for the Colts defensively. Let's see if their offense can follow up their last show.
Chris Rainey back at his own 20-yard line. Terrific kick for Huber at all. This one is going to come up short of midfield.
Wow. Didn't even get it past the 50.
No, that's going to be marked at the 48-yard line. That's a 30-yard punt. Let's see if Andrew Luck and the Colts can take advantage when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And by Bud Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Welcome back. 7:22 to play in the 3rd. The Colts, who have been very much a second half team from their own 48. Luck, deep drop. pulls it down, gonna run it right up the middle. Lots of yardage in front of him. And inside the 20-yard line. Terrence Newman finally made the tackle.
Andrew Luck, I think, is incapable of just heading to the sidelines and running out of bounds and not taking a hit. This guy is such a competitor. Take a look at this. Now, okay, there's where he made that decision where he was going to just squeeze out some extra yards, even though that involved him taking a big hit.
That's a career-long 29-yard run for Andrew Luck. It's Rainey in the backfield now and in motion from the 19. And that one is knocked down on its way to Rainey, incomplete.
I think Michael Johnson got that one.
It'll be 2nd and 10. You know, we talked, Andrew Luck and Vontaze Burfict remember each other from their playing days in college. Burfict at Arizona State and Andrew Luck up in Stanford.
I would imagine that every defensive player west of the Mississippi remembers when they played Andrew Luck.
There's Burfict. 2nd and 10. Luck throwing. That's complete to the 15-yard line. Devon Brazil to the 10. 5. Touchdown. More horrible tackling from the Bengal defense.
Back-to-back touchdowns by the Colts because of missed tackles, and there are 2 Bengals still down on the field. There's 1. Pecco can't bring him down. There's 2 by Crocker. There is just a pathetic effort by Terrence Newman. There's this one by Newman. Did he hurt himself? Newman looked like maybe he pulled off because coming in here from the left, there's Newman. Newman ends up going to the ground.
That looked like an injury to the right arm or shoulder.
Yeah, because he's in the position to make the tackle. But back-to-back touchdowns here by the Colts that get them right back in this game because of missed tackles by the Cincinnati defense. There's Terrence Newman, number 23.
And there's his shoulder right there. And then right down on the field is George Iloka, number 43, and I believe he is the Bengal down at the 10-yard line.
Newman was in a position, to put on a big hit. Well, this has been a disastrous few minutes for the Cincinnati defense, and obviously right back in it for the Colts.
No sooner have we said that the second half is the time of day for the Indianapolis Colts. They've come to life. Their last 2 drives, in a minute 46, they put 14 points on the board.
But again, Rodgers' long touchdown run was because of missed tackles by Adam Jones and Reggie Nelson, where they can ill afford to lose Iloka.
So he's helped to the sideline. And Terrence Newman sure didn't look good.
No, he did not. Both of them starters, left corner and strong safety, respectively.
So we'll find what we can about both those guys. Meanwhile, here's Vinatieri for the extra point that would bring the Colts to within a touchdown. 6:20 to play. In the third, Andrew Luck has the Colts right back in it, 21-14. Boy, what a coming out party it's been today for Derek Rogers and Levon Brazil, neither of whom had a reception coming into this game. Rogers with 3 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown, and Brazil now with 2 catches, 24 yards and a TD.
This wouldn't be the time to put a blood pressure cuff on Marvin Lewis and Mike Zimmer, a couple defensive guys.
Brandon Tate. To the 20, and he breaks 3. Vinatieri giving chase and ran him out of bounds. I beg your pardon, it was Pat McAfee and not Vinatieri.
Well, right now, the Cincinnati offense, what they have to do is pretty plain and simple, and I'm sure they talked about this on the sidelines. Our defense needs a little time to compose themselves. Let's put together another good, solid drive like we had to start this second half, and let's take back control of this football game because it is slipping away.
First down, good field position for Dalton and the Bengals at their own 40-yard line. Giovanni Bernard, left side. About 6 yards, maybe 7 on the play. As we approach 6 minutes to play in the third, talk about the difference in the Colts between the first and second halves this season. Their scoring differential in the first half, they're a minus 57. That's fifth worst in the NFL. And in the second half, they're a plus 61, and that's tied for fourth best.
And you know, they really make for interesting numbers, but it's not a recipe for long-term success to continually have to play from behind. It's an anomaly when you win, when you have to keep doing it. Eventually, it catches up.
2nd and 4, Dalton play fake. Incomplete. That comes up short, and the penalty marker comes in from deep in the secondary. Vontae Davis again on A.J. Green.
Well, A.J. Green turned around and asked for the call, and he got it.
Dan, you said it right at the beginning of the day. A.J. Green's a handful.
He is a handful.
And then some.
Pass interference, number 23 in the defense. Ball he placed in the spot of the foul, first down.
And again, Vontae Davis locked up in man coverage on A.J. Green, and he takes outside position, and then when Green goes to the inside, Davis has no alternative but to grab him, or else he gives up the reception. He gambled, played the outside. Green wasn't going to the outside.
Second of the day on Davis. This is Bernard. And Bernard spinning inside the 40 to about the 38.
Greg, remember when A.J. Green was a rookie and we saw him for the first time? He's so graceful and covered so much field and such a long strider, and then would elevate for the football, and you're going, oh my. To me, it just looked like a young Randy Moss. That type of an athlete with such grace.
Now, Pat Angerer, the fourth-year linebacker out of Iowa, walking slowly off the field.
I don't know what the problem is. He looks all right. Didn't even.
Y'all going to 52.
Line the clock again.
Didn't even unbuckle his chest.
4:55 to play here in the third on 2nd and 6. Bernard hit hard, took the hit, pulled his way inside the 35. Antoine Bethea, one of those hard hitters that you were talking about in that secondary for the Colts.
Well, you're right. Along with the other safety, LaRon Landry. They are, and you know, that's something that Chuck Pagano has really tried to instill and has instilled in this Indianapolis ball club. This is not a finesse team. This is a hard-hitting, tough, blue-collar, grinded-out football team.
Hey, you got a 51.
3rd and 2. Dalton passing, got that one, first down, and then some. Bernard on the sideline.
And Giovanni Bernard lost his helmet, and he's looking for he got hit by Landry. He's looking for a flag. Nice pass by Andy Dalton, allowing Bernard to take it in stride, keeping his eyes upfield, and you could. A good stiff arm here by Bernard, but it looks like Landry just grabs him by the helmet and rips it off.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness.
Right there.
Number 30 in the defense. Grabbed the helmet opening and pulled off the helmet of the runner.
Yes, he did.
Half the distance to the goal line, and then we'll run. First down.
Well, that's flagrant by LaRon Landry. That, I can pretty much guarantee, will end up with a FedEx envelope coming from the league office this week, because that's the way to really hurt a guy. Grab the helmet like that and jerk it and rip it.
1st and goal now from the 6-yard line. Quick pass on the slant. And that is very close to the goal line. A.J. Green with the catch.
And I think that's the kind of a heavy-duty route that we just wouldn't have seen A.J. Green be a part of when he was a rookie.
Domata Peko, number 94, in to do the blocking duties in the backfield. On 2nd and goal from about the 6-inch mark.
They all owe a debt of gratitude to William the Refrigerator Perry.
Play fake. The pass wide open. Touchdown Gresham.
Well, LaRon Landry was the nearest Colt in coverage, and all he could do was just watch this pitch and catch. Again, Gresham fakes, and Landry completely fooled, loses his footing. He's got the coverage on Gresham, and he can't get there. Not exactly a great series for LaRon Landry.
Gresham, his 3rd touchdown catch of the season.
That was a big-time drive by the Bengals.
One that they needed. The extra point is good. 3:05 to play in the 3rd. And Andy Dalton having himself a good afternoon. It's a 2-touchdown lead for the Bengals. A reminder for you, Thursday on CBS, Academy Award winner Robin Williams and Sarah Michelle Gellar star in a new episode of The Crazy Ones, Thursday at 9/8 Central, only CBS.
Well, we talked at the beginning of that drive about it was incumbent upon the offense of the Bengals to give their defense a chance to get composed on the sidelines after some really, on 2 drives, a textbook display of really bad tackling. So we'll see if this little rest helped their defense at all and got them a little more focused.
Meanwhile, Andy Dalton in the offense gives them the lift they needed at the time. Brady on the run from the 5. Slides down, up again, and down again at about the 19-yard line.
Well, Andrew Luck, his first touchdown just right across the middle. And again, Rick Rogers breaks a couple tackles, and he's got nothing but real estate in front of him. And then Luck takes off with the ball, puts his team in a great position. And then there's the last touchdown to Brazil. And I'd say, I'd have to go back and count, but at least 6 Cincinnati Bengals got a hand on him, and he still ended up in the end zone.
Well, Terrence Newman is back on the field, but George Iloka is not in the secondary as Luck is on the move and throws incomplete. Threw into a crowd there.
And Vontaze Burfict was part of that crowd. Man, are the Bengals getting a lot of football for Burfict. Keep in mind, an undrafted free agent, which means he's not playing for big money. He's playing for the minimum, and you talk about production per dollar. The Bengals are getting it big time from Burfict.
This is Trent Richardson. And Richardson to about the 24. On the sideline, that's Reggie Wayne under all the warmth.
Yeah, Reggie Wayne is 34 years old. He'll be 35 next year. His future, how well he comes back from the knee injury that he suffered back in October in the Denver game. It's going to be a fascinating story.
Here's Luck on 3rd and 5. Throwing and incomplete. Kobe Fleener looked to be the intended receiver.
Well, he was. Yeah, he was the he was the nearest Colt. And I don't know if Luck was expecting him to run a deeper pattern than he did, but that ball from Andrew Luck sailed way over his head.
And Brandon Tate is deep for this kick. From his own 22. Up the sideline and out of bounds at about the 40-yard line. Meanwhile, the AFC playoff picture, this is an interesting situation. The New England Patriots are losing to Cleveland 12-0 as we speak. The Baltimore Ravens are winning. They're leading Minnesota 7-6 today.
Which means if Cincinnati and New England end up, both of them at 9-4 after taking that game back in October where New England came here and were defeated by the Bengals, that game looms large.
Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins, who are 6-6 on the year, with the lead right now against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's safe to say nothing's settled yet, man.
No, it's that number 2 seed is very much up in play. That coveted week off.
This has been Jarvis Green Ellis out to about the 43, where Eric Walden makes the tackle.
And this new offensive line of the Bengals with big Andrew Whitworth there at left guard and Anthony Collins at left tackle. And again, this is where you like to take that line out for a test drive.
Yeah,
Grinding out a few first downs with a 2-touchdown lead.
This is Marvin Jones on the end around.
Oh, Jay Gruden wishes he had that one back.
And we get a late flag on the far side of the field.
All of this right on the Colts sideline, right in front of their bench.
Over. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 52 of the defense. Taunting.
That's Kelvin
15-yard
Shepherd.
penalty. Automatic first down.
The NFL has made it very apparent that taunting is not going to be tolerated. There's Shepherd. He gets up and gets right into the face.
That's
right
just,
into the face of
that's
Marvin
just,
Jones.
That's just stupid.
Well, it's undisciplined, and it just can't come as a surprise to these guys. The NFL has not kept this a secret. They will not tolerate antagonizing an opponent like that.
So instead of the Bengals being in a hole, it's a new set of downs, and this has been Jarvis Green Ellis to the 40 of the Colts.
You know, Greg, that's just one of those penalties that, it's so completely unnecessary, and it is so damaging.
Yeah, the Colts had made themselves a pretty good defensive stand.
Oh, absolutely. It was a negative play, an end around that lost 2 or 3 yards, and, something that'll actually get you a little bit excited defensively, and then, wow, talk about letting the air out of the balloon.
Now, when the fourth quarter begins, they're going to have to make a stand once again. Time runs out here in the third quarter. Cincinnati with a 28-14 lead. We go to the last 15 minutes. That's the end of 3. 28-14 Bengals. Back to Cincinnati after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. We're ready to start the fourth quarter. The Bengals with a 2-touchdown lead, and the quarterbacks on the day, Andrew Luck and Andy Dalton. And Mr. Dalton has put himself together a very nice day. 20 for 29 for 225 and 2 touchdowns.
You got to go.
Dalton on the move. Throws incomplete and hit immediately. That's incomplete. Alex Smith, the intended receiver, he couldn't get a hold on after being hit by Andy Studebaker.
Yeah, there's Andy has nowhere else to go with the football right here, but this had no chance of succeeding. Just well read by Studebaker, and he had his responsibilities covered, Pat.
Craig Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, our producer Mark Wolf, our director Bob Fishman here in Cincinnati. 3rd and 6.
Orlando's up.
Dalton. Oh, look, he's got a man open inside the 15, and that's caught by Marvin Jones.
Oh, did Jones hit his head? Marvin Jones landed kind of hard. Again, the Colts come with a blitz. It's picked up front by the Bengals front line, and Andy Dalton delivers again. Just a perfect pass. Darius Butler, the corner, his coverage here, his coverage is not that bad. He gets to close in a little bit. That just was a really good throw. Marvin Jones elevates at the right time, but his head hits the turf when he goes down.
3 red zone trips, 3 touchdowns for the Bengals so far, and now inside the 10-yard line has been Jarvis Green Ellis. Eric Walden making the tackle.
Well, we talked earlier about Cincinnati wanting to really run the football today, and they're doing that. They've run it 28 times. They've thrown it 31 times. In the modern NFL, that's pretty good balance. And in the red zone, as Craig just told you, they've been very good.
2nd and 8. Dalton locked in 1. Touchdown, A.J. Green.
Wow. Darius Butler was handcuffed to the point where he just fell to the ground trying to cover A.J. Green on the little fade in the end zone. This is where Butler goes, I wish somebody else would do this. That was
Butler is
a little easy.
Butler's filling in today for the regular starting cornerback Greg Toller, who has been saddled with a groin injury.
But Butler's experience, he gets plenty of playing time. And he was just manhandled right there by A.J. Green, or the mere thought of covering A.J. Green.
Andy Dalton, 3 touchdown passes to 3 different receivers today, and Cincinnati's lead is 35-14. Shows you the kind of receiver A.J. Green has been in his first 3 seasons in the NFL, bypassing such stellar names as John Jefferson and Jerry Rice in receiving yards.
And still chasing Torrey Holt.
Oh, he'll catch Torrey Holt this season.
Yep.
What was that, within 200 yards or so?
What was that other guy's name? Randy Moss? Was that it? Or Jerry Rice? I mean, who are these guys? Pretty impressive.
Cassius Vaughn is deep.
Pretty impressive.
And this is Vaughn at the 4. The Colts now looking for another spark to get them started. Hey, next Sunday, the NFL on CBS stays locked in the playoff chase in one matchup. Tom Brady and the Patriots up against Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins. Dan, you and I will see Rex Ryan and the New York Jets up against Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. Check your local listings. It begins with JV, Dan, Coach, Shannon, and Boomer on the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see who's playing quarterback for the New York Jets against that Carolina defense. Whoa.
Hey,
Luke Kuechly is a monster.
That group is something special.
So on first down, quick pass, this side, Derek Rogers. And Rogers wrapped up. Oh, now spins across the 30 by Terrence Newman. George Iloka, by the way, has not returned to the field since that injury, and we are told he suffered a head injury.
Ricky!
Luck. Over the middle, and that is caught by Kobe Fleener. Let's check in with the NFL Today in New York, JB and Dano.
New England not giving up. Yes, and they're coming back here. Shane Ravine goes in 6 yards for a touchdown, and then the New England Patriots, they go for 2. Tom Brady to Julian Edelman completes that. 19-11 Cleveland. Back to Greg and Dan.
This is Luck throwing and incomplete. And a flag is down.
illegal hands to the face. Number 95 of the defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Wallace Gilberry is guilty of the penalty. And that'll move the ball to the 42-yard line and a new set of downs for the Colts.
Wallace Gilberry has been playing some pretty good football for the Bengals. That penalty not included, but 6.5 sacks on the year. He's been playing good.
Quick pass to this side. T.Y. Hilton, and Hilton out of bounds at the 45. Dre Kirkpatrick ran him out of bounds.
T.Y. Hilton has had to become the guy with the subtraction of Reggie Wayne. And again, you know, when you watch a game like this, it just really comes home how desperately these Colts need some playmakers, guys who can get chunk yardage offensively.
Luck. Crossing pattern again. Hilton again. And Hilton brought down short of midfield. And that's about 2 to 3 yards short of a first down. Vincent Ray making the stop.
He's certainly spreading it around today as 9 separate Colts have caught a pass from Andrew Luck.
And that's of necessity, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And one of them isn't Reggie Wayne. That's the problem. 3rd and 3.
57. Great.
Trent Richardson in the backfield. Luck, quick pass. Got his man to the 40-yard line. Inside the 40, Darius Hayward-Bay. First down.
A good blitz adjustment by both Luck and Hayward-Bay, because that was an all-out blitz up the middle by the Bengals, and they make the adjustment. Trent Richardson did a good job picking up Vinny Ray.
Richardson again. Richardson to the 35. You know, we made a point of asking a couple of these Colts about how long's it been since they played in cold and snowy weather, and a couple of them said, can we go back to high school?
Right. If you know, the threat here was for a snowstorm, ice storm, whatever, and now certainly the Colts played a cold game last year. They beat Kansas City in Kansas City when it was in the low 20s.
Luck throwing. That's complete to Fleener. And Fleener inside the 30. That's another first down for the Colts.
Andrew Luck going to Coby Fleener, and that's just Andrew Luck taking him back to the inside, staying away from the defender, catches it on the hip.
Luck, good protection this time, going for the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. Levon Brazil. What a throw by Andrew Luck.
Well, Brazil was wide open as he got past Terrence Newman and Chris Crocker, the safety. Newman, the corner to this side, he closed some of the distance at the end, but when Andrew Luck looked up, he realized he had a wide open receiver.
29-yard touchdown pass. And once again, the Colts come back. Extra point is good. 9:48 to play in the fourth. It's 35-21. Bengals.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx One Rate. Simple flat rate shipping with the reliability of FedEx. Sonos, the wireless hi-fi system. And by Walmart. Shop early for the season's hottest gifts backed by our new Christmas ad match.
Back at Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. The Colts go 75 yards in 8 plays, and Levon Brazil, boy, Andrew Luck discovering some new receivers here today, and Levon Brazil and Derek Rogers. Making their first receptions of the year. This is Brandon Tate on the run, up the middle, across the 25 and out to the 27. Let's go back to that touchdown pass.
Well, Brazil is going to be split all the way out, and Newman's got the coverage on him here. But watch Newman. He's expecting some help from his deep safety, Chris Crocker. He's going to let him go. He thinks he's got outside help. Crocker drifted to the inside and was in no position to come back and help. And by the time Newman let Brazil go by, there was no making up that distance.
So now here are Dalton and the Bengals on offense
Going underneath.
at the 27-yard line. Touchdowns in their last 2 drives. And Jarvis Green Ellis nailed and knocked down at the 29. Obreo Franklin making the hit, and here's Robert Mathis.
Well, working over there against Collins, and again, when you run the football, you take Robert Mathis out of it. Robert Mathis is not J.J. Watt in terms of being a big physical run defender. He's an edge player. It's all about speed. And when you run the ball effectively, you're limiting Robert Mathis's ability to take over a game.
Dalton under pressure and throw it away. Nobody on that side of the field.
Well, they've got to think about throwing a flag here.
Ball makes it to the line of scrimmage.
Andy Dalton is in the pocket. He is not outside the pocket. And I think Jeff Triplett's trying to find out if there was a receiver anywhere.
And the ball made it back to the line of scrimmage. It is an incomplete pass. 3rd down.
Well, Jeff Triplett disagrees with me. He says that Andy Dalton was outside the pocket. All right.
How was he outside of the pocket?
It
with
looked
a
like he went
straight drop.
I don't have an answer for that, Greg.
Andy Dalton, the only starting quarterback in the NFL without a sack since week 10. Bernard. And wrapped up at the 30-yard line.
Well, the Colts defense did their job. And all of a sudden, things are getting interesting here. If Andrew Luck takes the Colts down and scores again and makes this a 1-score ball game, there's going to be a whole lot of nervous people in Bengal land.
There may be right now, under 8.5 to play. Levon Brazil, who has 2 touchdown catches today, is back at his own 20-yard line. Oh, booming kick. And into the end zone for the touchback. That's a 70-yard punt. Well, we said at the very top of the day that both the Bengals and the Colts might have designs on that number 2 playoff spot currently held by New England.
Well, this is pretty obvious when you watch the way the Colts are fighting back in that. I mean, this is 2 winning football teams. There's a reason they're both 8-4.
Luck throwing through the hands of Brazil. It'll be 2nd and 10. And Luck has helped off the turf. We are told by the Bengals that safety George Iloka will not return to action today because of that head injury he suffered.
I'm sure what Mike Zimmer wants to see from his defense, at the very least, is an improvement on the tackling they've shown in the second half. This is an elite defense.
Luck's pass complete to Fleener, and that's a pickup of about 4.
Vinny Ray that time, a good sure tackle. And again, it's like nearly every Indianapolis drive here in the second half has a part of it has been shedding would-be Bengal tacklers with some ease.
Luck throwing the other side, and that's off the hands of Rodgers, thrown behind him.
It was way behind him. And again, I don't know if the slant wasn't exactly at the same depth that Andrew Luck was looking for, but that's just way behind the rookie. That would have been a circus catch. But that could have also been the route not being exactly right too. So who knows?
McAfee gets the kick away, and this is Tate from the 27. Running room off the sideline. Blocker in front of him. and bumped out at about the 30-yard line. 48-yard punt, 43-yard return.
And Pat McAfee gets walloped at the end of this thing. He gives himself up. He's going to come into your picture right there. And he at least forces Tate to the sidelines. He does his job, not letting him come back into the field to play. At least it was more shoved than hard hitting block, but not a very graceful landing.
And here's Giovanni Bernard squeezing through to the 21-yard line, and now a terrific opportunity for the Bengals to all but put this thing away.
Yeah, the Colts were in desperate need of some good coverage, a 3-and-out, and putting Luck in that offense back out there, trying to make it a one-score game.
Giovanni Bernard now with 12 carries for 100 yards on the day. Well, you talked at the beginning about what a special weapon he is.
Yeah, well, it's a play caller's delight here on 2nd and 2. 8 yards on first down will do that for you.
Penalty markers fly as Bernard goes straight ahead. Giovanni Bernard is the Bengals' first 100-yard rusher this season.
Offside. Number 18 in the offense. Lined up in the neutral zone. It's a 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
That would be the anxious A.J. Green.
Yeah, you're not very. Marvin can't be too thrilled with the fact that his wide receiver lines up in the neutral zone and negates a play like that. Makes it a little bit. You're 2nd and 2 now, backs all the way up.
We're told that a knee injury will keep Terrence Newman from playing the rest of this game. Dalton still with the ball. Flips it. That's complete. And this is Tyler Eifert. And Eifert out of bounds, short of the 15-yard line.
I think that was Darius Butler that went flying by. More block than tackle, trying to bring Eifert down right there. And he gets nothing but air. The Bengals love everything about Tyler Eifert, and maybe most of all, they are so pleasantly surprised at his blocking skills. They knew what a good receiver he was.
And you see Cincinnati has been piling up the statistics with their red zone offense. Green Ellis pushes his way to about the 13-yard line.
And again, there they are now with 31 rushes on the game, the Cincinnati Bengals, and that just makes everything so easy for Jay Gruden and the offense when you can crank out yardage like that. Bernard's getting ready to go over 100. Green Ellis he's been the hammer. He's been softening up the defense.
Green Ellis again, inside the 10 to the 8, and about a yard short of a first down.
The other thing about the law firm, Greg, he so rarely ever fumbles the football. He is as sure-handed a back as there is in the NFL. There you go.
Who was it who said at the beginning of the day that the Bengals had to run and run and run some more?
Run some more, and that's what they've done. Now you can try to run it, but they have run it.
3rd and 2. Dalton rolling, gonna run for it, has the first down and has a touchdown.
Well, how did they get that touchdown, Greg? On a running play. Andy Dalton comes out. He comes out on the bootleg. And a blown play because there was the fake. He was faking to someone who wasn't there. I don't know if Bernard went the wrong way or what, but I'd say it worked out pretty well.
Nugent for the extra point. And it is good with 4:03 to play here in the fourth quarter. Cincinnati putting a cap on a big, big win. Andy Dalton has had himself a day, and Marvin Lewis says, I'll take that.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the all-new 2014 Jeep Cherokee, built free. And by Subway. Get your own Big Hot Pastrami from Subway today. Subway, eat fresh.
Back in Cincinnati, where some of the faithful are still here, others are making for the way home.
And one of the things, Greg, with the weather forecast, what it was for freezing rain, ice pellets, snow, everything else. We talked about ball security. How many turnovers have there been? Zero.
Cassius Vaughn from 5 yards deep in his own end zone. Has some running room right up the middle when he crossed the 20 to about the 25-yard, maybe the 27-yard line. Remind you, coming up, the Subway post-game show. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher will have scores, highlights, playoff update, scenario, all that good stuff coming up on the Subway post-game show.
Well, the Colts are going to have to make the bus ride back up I-74. Just realizing that they played a really good football team on their home field. And again, just can't make it happen out of trailing at halftime.
Luck short pop over the middle. This is Trent Richardson, and Richardson across the 40 to the 41-yard line. These Bengals about to win their 6th out of 6 games at home this year, and they will face Minnesota and Baltimore here before the season is out. That's incomplete.
I know when Marvin Lewis sits down with their coaching staff and they go over some of the stats of this game, one of the things that Marvin is just going to be thrilled with, 5 trips to the red zone, 5 touchdowns. It is hard to lose a football game with that kind of an offensive performance in the red zone.
Well, and there's no question this Bengals team is talented, but as we said at the very beginning, Dan, it's the consistency that hasn't always been there. Luck over the middle, Richardson again. Richardson to the 45, and another first down for Indianapolis. Vincent Ray makes the stop.
But you know, Greg, I think let's just compare these two teams, because the playoffs are right around the corner. When you compare, both of them were 8-4 coming into this game. Let's see what this play brings here.
Luck with all kinds of time, not much of a pass rush, and then he throws complete over the middle, and Richardson once again inside the 35 to the 33.
Both of these teams 8-4, but look at the quality on the Cincinnati offensive side of the ball versus the Indianapolis side of the ball. I mean, you just compare these two offensive teams. What does Andy Dalton have to work with A.J. Green and Eifert and Gresham and a much stronger offensive line than the Colts have?
Richardson once again.
I mean, if you want to talk about playoff prospects and who's going to have you got to like the fact that Cincinnati could be one of those teams kind of like Baltimore was last year, where they just get hot at the right time, get hot down the stretch, and who knows what might happen.
And built well for the playoffs and cold weather. To the 20-yard line now is Donald Brown, and that'll take us to the 2-minute warning. So at the 20-yard line, we hit the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left to play in Cincinnati. And it's all Bengals. There could be a little reshuffling of the playoff picture. The New England Patriots are trailing by 5 with 4 minutes to play against Cleveland. Cincinnati, with a win, would bounce into that number 2 spot by virtue simply of their win over New England earlier this season. Andrew Luck with time. And this is Donald Brown. And Brown out of bounds at about the 10.
Well, it's hard for anyone who's a Cincinnati Bengal fan to root for the Cleveland Browns to do much of anything positive. But in this situation, I think they are.
The Jets a winner today. Miami has grabbed the late lead on Pittsburgh. And Kansas City thrashing Washington. Luck. Derek Rogers is crushed inside the 5 by Montez Burfict. Luck trying to get his team to the line of scrimmage. First and goal as we come up on a minute and a half. Luck throwing, and Donald Brown gets to go nowhere, courtesy of Vincent Gray. And Vincent Gray is a really good football player.
Yes, he is.
Just a reminder, the Subway postgame show coming up. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Phil Cowan. Scores and highlights. Playoff picture coming up on the Subway postgame show.
And I think you can see right now that Chuck Pagano, even though he's being doubled up on the scoring column, he's going to play this out. He is going to fight to the end. He's going to use his timeouts, and he's going to... I played for a coach like that, Don Coryell. We never walked off the field with a timeout left if we were behind. You squeezed out every play you could.
Second and goal. And Luck throws on the far side. Touchdown, Derek Rogers. So Rogers gets his second touchdown catch of the day.
Well, if nothing else for the Colts today, they certainly got their young receivers involved, because Rogers and Brazil, that's Hayward Bay limping off, but Rogers and Brazil, between the two of them, had 0 NFL touchdown receptions, and they leave here with a total of 4, a pair apiece.
Now,
The second charge timeout in Indianapolis because of the injury.
Jeff Triplett explaining that because the Colts are being charged a timeout because of the injury to Darius Hayward Bay.
so I was going to say, the Colts cannot claim that AFC South title with a win here, but they can still claim it should Tennessee come up short in their game later this afternoon. That extra point is good. So with a minute 20 to play, it's Cincinnati 42 and Indy 28.
All right, there are the Bengals and the Patriots schedule. You can see New England has a couple of road games at Miami, at Baltimore. Those are, as you can see, good football teams, and then they come back home to play Buffalo. New England's still down 5 with 3.5 minutes left. Cincinnati, who now will move to 6-0 here at home, as you can see, gets 2 of the last 3 at home against Minnesota and Baltimore after they go to Pittsburgh.
And it's obvious that the Baltimore Ravens are going to have something to say about this playoff race in these last 3 weeks.
Yes, they are. But it's, playing both New England and Cincinnati. But you got to like the way that schedule breaks out for the Bengals because of the fact that they get 2 more games here at Paul Brown Stadium.
Bengals fully expecting the onside kick here from the Indianapolis Colts. McAfee has it teed up at the 35-yard line, and let's see what they come up with. And we get a whistle, and a timeout is called by Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. They're first.
That Miami-Pittsburgh game still in progress after this game is over. Bonus coverage coming your way from Pittsburgh.
Well, the Bengals wanted to see how, I don't know if they didn't like their own alignment or if they were just trying to learn something. You know, you can't overload on the onside kick attempt the way you used to be able to. Again, that's a player safety issue, keeping it more balanced so you don't get the giant, massive groups of people colliding with each other. Now, one of the things that McAfee could do is approach the ball looking like he's kicking it to the far side, and then at the last second hit it with his left foot and bring it back this way.
Try the same thing.
Well,
Gets the same result.
Deja vu. That was deja vu all over again.
That one needs a little work. Mohamed Sanu on the receiving end.
Well, right before the Bengals called a timeout, this was exactly the thing that Pat McAfee did. It's like we were little Groundhog Day here.
And as they say, that brings the crowd rising to its feet and heading for the exits.
Well, congratulations to Cincinnati. They held serve here at home
in impressive fashion.
Yep.
A couple of kneel downs, and this one will go into the books. And the Bengals will move to 9-4 on the year.
Andrew Luck's looking out there going, I think we could trade for A.J. Green. What? And the trading deadline has come and gone. Sorry, Andrew.
Dalton take a snap and the knee.
And that'll be it.
Marvin Lewis sees a most impressive performance put on by his Bengals today. A couple of tackling snafus that'll be addressed.
Yes, sir. There'll be some chewing out in it, some defensive meetings, but hey, enjoy it. A win against a quality opponent.
Chuck Pagano and Marvin Lewis, two good friends. Marvin Lewis comes out on top of this one. 42-28, the Bengals, a winner. The Colts fall to 8-5, and Cincinnati improves to 9-4 with an eye on the number 2 playoff spot in the AFC. First half problems continue to bite the Colts. There's your final, 42-28 for Dan Deerdorf, Greg Gumbel. So long from Cincinnati.